Hello, everyone. Welcome to the No Score Review Show. Today, we are going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 1. Not The Last of Us from 2013. Not The Last of Us from, when was it? 2016? 2015?
2014, wasn't it?
Not the
2015?
remaster. 2014, whatever.
Yeah,
All
something like that.
relative. We're talking about the remake that just came out last week, as of the time of recording.
The one I haven't played yet.
The one Matt hasn't played yet. Matt is joining me today, one of my good friends. Matt, say hello to everyone.
Hello to everyone.
Nice, good stuff. And also joining me this week is Cole, my other good friend. Cole, you have played The Last of Us Part 1.
Yeah, I've got about a little under halfway, I guess. I'm in Pittsburgh, so yeah, it's been going good.
Perfect. And I have beaten it as of the time of recording. I plowed through it this past weekend to get it all ready for the gaming channel, No Score Plays. So that will be coming out kind of before and after this episode goes up. But yeah, we're going to review The Last of Us Part 1 today. So maybe just as a little bit of an intro, each of you guys want to kind of give like a little bit of history and background on your relationship with the game, when you like first played it, what your general thoughts are, what your kind of expectations were going into it when this was announced and everything. Cole, we can start with you.
Sure, yeah. I played The Last of Us Remastered. I never played the PS3 version. I still haven't because there's not really any point in going back now. But
No,
I didn't have a
definitely
PS3 at that point. I had an Xbox 360, and I knew that I was going to be a PS4 guy moving forward. So that was like what came out a couple months after the PS4 came out, like 6 months or something like that. So I bought that right away. I think I beat it in a weekend, and then I played it like 2 or 3 more times right through again, just because I was like, well, I need to get most of the trophies and play some multiplayer and all that. So yeah, I've played the shit out of this game. I've probably beat it. This is probably going to be my 7th time, I think, maybe 8. I don't know.
7.
Too many
Holy
times.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's my favorite game of all time. So I mean, I've played it. I know most things about it. I mean, yeah, I guess expectations. I wasn't expecting like a whole lot. I mean, and I do think it looks really great. But I mean, if you've played remastered, I don't think it's like you're not missing out on a whole bunch, especially at $100. But I mean, it's my favorite game, so of course I was gonna buy it. But if it's I don't know, $100 is pretty steep for this kind of a remaster. I guess it's not technically a remaster; it's a remake. But I don't know. I am having a lot of fun.
It was
$100. So yeah.
Yeah, it's $90 and then the $10 tax on top of it. So it's you're hitting triple digits if you want to play this game right now.
Or you could just pick up remaster for like $10. So I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about that.
The remaster is part of the play. Yeah, we'll get more into pricing and stuff later. But like the remaster is part of the PlayStation Plus collection, I believe. So if you have PlayStation Plus, you technically can play it for free. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into that more later. Cole, did you play like a lot of the multiplayer when it was first kind of announced at all?
I played. Or I
guess it was like because you played the remaster, right?
Yeah, so I beat the game, like I said, like 2 or 3 times in a row, and then I played multiplayer for probably about a month, and I really loved it. But then something else had came out by that point. I was like, well, I'm not gonna just keep playing multiplayer. And then we started playing again a couple years ago, and we haven't really played since because we just get our ass kicked every single match.
We learned our lesson. Do not even
people just play that 100 times and they just keep playing it over and over. But I mean,
it's not even. It wasn't even an issue of people. It wasn't like Call of Duty games where like the more age that comes with those games, there's like more hackers and modders and everything. It was just people that were really fucking good at the game.
They know where to go in the map, where you were spawning all the time, and just be waiting for you. Yeah, it was. So jumping into that multiplayer, like I'm kind of glad they didn't include it in the remake, just because
Yeah.
I don't know if people are going to jump into that again. I mean, it's not even going to be fair to people who are picking up this game for the first time at this point of its life,
Totally.
right? So,
especially it being such a carbon copy, pretty much
oh yeah,
gameplay wise,
it would
of
be
the
the exact
remaster.
same, right? It's not like part 2 where there's a lot different things you can learn and people have a learning curve. This one would just be like you're playing the exact same game with better graphics, and that's about it. So, good luck.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. Okay. Matt, you want to kind of go into your history with the game?
Well, for me, it's a very different history, I guess. For one, because I haven't played part 1 as it is now. I've played the remaster, which I actually only played for the first time 2 years ago. Because I was also like I was a Halo kid growing up, so I also always had Xbox.
Now you're talking my language.
But then when The Last of Us Part 2 came out, I was like, okay, I gotta fucking play this one. So I bought a PlayStation 4 Pro specifically so that I could play the game, and then I got the remaster for $20 and played through that whole thing in a weekend and loved it. And then dove right into part 2 like the next day. So I got to experience all of The Last of Us really as one full back-to-back experience, which
That's
I
awesome.
think definitely influenced how I feel about both of the games.
Very cool.
Because I didn't have that long time where a lot of people would sit on the first game waiting.
Yeah.
Because it was what, like 6 or so years that was between them? 7 years, yeah. So there was a lot of time to, to let it simmer and for the fans. But for me, it was just like, I had so many expectations, obviously, going into it, because there's this big mythos that's kind of built up around this game. And like
it's become this critically acclaimed, iconic, one of the best games of all time, right?
For sure. And like it's one of those things where like or like Apocalypse Now or The Godfather, where you hear so much about these movies and you're like, how is this possibly going to live up to expectations when I finally watch it? But then you do, and it does.
Yeah.
And I felt that way about The Last of Us for sure. And it's now up there for favorite series, favorite game. I personally liked part 2 more than the first game, which I know can be a hot take for
brave
a lot of
words. People are going to come
brave words. I know.
That one.
I will say The Last of Us Part 2, one of my favorite video games of all time, and I think it's a magnificent piece of art that will be studied in the future. And I think it's a very critical point in games where we're seeing a transition from these just being seen as video games and like seeing the potential of true pieces of art that this medium can produce.
Totally.
I totally agree there.
That's awesome. Did you say you kind of got into the first one because you kind of got into it around the time part 2 was coming out, and that's what piqued your interest?
Yeah, I think so. Because I just
very cool.
For a while, since I was a child, I wasn't going to be like, oh, I'm going to buy a PlayStation, because I already had an Xbox at the time. But now I was like, you know what? I'm old enough to have some money to burn. All of my coworkers are playing this game and they're talking about how good it is and they're hyping it up and everything. So I thought, you know what? I'll make the purchase. I've been a PC gamer for a while now, but I'm like, there's a lot of exclusives on the PlayStation that I would like to touch at some point. Like same with the Spider-Man games as well. I don't know why I said touch like that. It's a weird way to describe it, but
it's okay. We can move past it. It's fine.
But yeah, so it was sort of an impulse decision, but I'm very glad that I did it for sure.
Yeah. If you're going to buy a PlayStation console for a specific game, The Last of Us is a hell of a game to do so.
Yeah,
I agree.
It'd be the first choice, I think, for most people. But
yeah,
I mean, Spider-Man might be the first, but I think Last of Us
Spider-Man's
is right
definitely
there with it.
Casts a wider net for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I actually originally watched a YouTube playthrough of The Last of Us back when it first came out in 2013. and even just watching someone else play it like moved. The Sarah scene, the prologue, like tears, literally tears. I cried the very first time I ever saw it.
Oh yeah, that
and
was
I
my
wasn't even
first
playing the
exposure to
freaking
the game as well.
So yeah, I got to watch it passively at first, but then I was kind of the same as you, Matt. I like kind of grew up. I was still kind of in the Xbox ecosystem around the time, and then just kind of grew up like hearing about it off to the side and how it was like one of the best games of all time and everything. And then yeah, I think probably similar to you, Matt, I like once it was the remaster was like $20 or so, I was like, yeah, might as well, because it's the remaster and it's The Last of Us. Like you might as well just have it in your collection, right? So no point in not doing that. But once the part 2 came around is when I actually first played it myself for the first time. And I pretty much did the same thing as you, Matt, was the like played it, timed it out perfectly. So I was like in the Seattle hospital level like the night before part 2 was coming out, and I was able to go right into it afterwards, which was a great experience.
So, wait, so did you just buy it and then let it sit on your shelf for like a year and then play it?
Yeah, I think that's what happened pretty much. Well, I mean, like, I actually got my girlfriend to play it because I was getting her into video games as well. So I was trying to introduce her to all of like the greatest hits or whatever. Okay. And I actually just like you
just watched her play it.
Yeah, I pushed the kid into the pool. I was like, "Here, you play it. You play the whole thing. I'll watch."
That's funny.
Yeah, so she actually played it before me, which is a little funny. But yeah, it was just on my shelf for the longest time. I watched it twice, and then I'm like, okay, fine, I'll play it.
Third time, I'll play it this time.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, cool. Okay, so we can kind of dive into some highlights and lowlights. Matt, since you haven't actually like played part 1 specifically, the remake yet, and Cole, you're not all the way through, it'll kind of just be more general The Last of Us review, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of touch on part 1 where it fits. But highlights and lowlights of the game. Matt, we'll start with you first.
Okay. Personally, I think the biggest draw for me with the gameplay, at least, is like just the simplicity of everything, with the absolute minimal HUD and the items. Like, you're not overloaded with so many different kind of craftables and consumables. It's very like you have one thing for a specific purpose, and the screen isn't cluttered around, and you're not constantly in menus, and there's not pop-ups and stuff. It's sitting in the world of the game, and you get to exist with the characters for extended periods of time without your immersion being broken. I really think that The Last of Us and a lot of the Naughty Dog games in general do such a great job at blurring the lines between cinema and games.
Totally.
And I remember this a lot from part 2. I don't remember if they do it in part 1, of how the gameplay just seamlessly blends into the cutscenes.
Yep, I'm pretty sure they do the same thing in part 2.
They did the same in part 1 as well.
Yeah,
yeah. I love that. That's such a it's such an immersive and fluid way to bridge the gap between those two very distinct pieces of the game.
Totally. You can actually tell sometimes, like they'll do like full-on pre-rendered cinematics for like the big chunky story portions, and then sometimes they'll just do cinematics but like in engine with the like game character models. And then I think that is what provides them a little bit of leeway in like doing a cinematic part and then transitioning into the gameplay, which is really cool.
And that also like prevents the loading screens and stuff as well.
Totally.
Which
there's no loading screens, is there?
Yeah, no. There's perfect.
Cool. Is that your only highlight, or did you want to keep going?
I mean, I can go for
Sure.
more for sure.
Keep going.
I think the story itself is amazing. The characters are so well written. It's such a gripping narrative with morally ambiguous characters from front to back, and there's no clear good person, bad person. It's like everybody does some bad stuff, but you can't help but also empathize with every character, even the villains, to some degree. And you know, in so many movies, you're really just expected to empathize and identify with the main character, but with video games, it really lends itself to that because you're literally put in the shoes of this character, which makes the big twist at the end all the more poignant when, you know, Joel does his big things. Is this a spoiler review?
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah,
for almost
it's
10
been
years.
out for
so.
7 years.
That's a
Yeah.
fair point. So yeah, when it makes
Almost
the
10
swap
years,
at
yeah,
the
sorry.
end, when Joel starts to go off and kill the fireflies, you're like, oh shit, I'm really doing something bad right now.
Mhm.
But you can't help but be like, at the same time, you feel it because you also want to save Ellie. And
Yeah,
I
I don't
think
think there
just
was
their
ever a
whole
time where I was like feeling bad about killing the fireflies. I was like, I want to save Ellie. Like, there's no guarantee
Yeah.
this curse,
Fuck
or
these
not this
guys.
curse, this vaccine is gonna work, right? Like, sure, she's immune,
That's
Right.
but
also
how do
very
they know,
true.
right? So I know
Yeah.
people are always like, oh, Joel's such a bad guy, but sure, but he loved this girl, so I mean, why wouldn't he save her when there's no
Mhm.
100% vaccine coming, right? So sorry to cut
Yeah.
you off.
And no, it's all good. I totally agree with what you say. And that's the thing that I love about this game, is because it's so morally ambiguous that it opens up these discussions for people to have, and everybody can have a different opinion on it. And they're all equally valid because it was designed that way. And I think that's really the what's going to leave the lasting mark of this game. It's just the discussions on morality that it's able to open up.
Totally. Cole, did you want to jump in at all? Some of your
Yeah,
highlights?
I mean, I think it's hard to talk about The Last of Us without talking about like the main draw, and I think that's Joel and Ellie. I mean, the game wouldn't be The Last of Us, and it wouldn't be talked about like it is without Joel and Ellie. So I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and I can't even recall a single other game other than maybe like the two Red Dead games where the protagonists are so loved, um, and so
Mm.
valuable to the franchise. Like, you could talk about Star Wars and you can go in multiple directions and it's still Star Wars, but if you would have done The Last of Us 2 and it didn't have Joel and Ellie, I don't know if it would have been the same. And I know people were saying like, oh, it should be without Joel and Ellie, but I don't know. It's one of those franchises where I think Joel and Ellie are The Last of Us, and The Last of Us is Joel and Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's very true.
yeah,
I agree
Yeah,
100%. It's all about the
I think
characters.
totally.
and
Um,
especially the performances, right? Like Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker. Like I
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't even know how to talk about it because it's so good, and you get it in two
yeah.
games. Like, Ashley Johnson as Ellie is probably my favorite performance of all time. Ellie's probably my favorite character of all time. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how to talk about it. It's so good. Like, and the show is gonna. I love Pedro Pascal, but I'm a little worried about how that's gonna come off, just because I'm so used to being with Troy Baker's Joel and Ashley Johnson's Ellie, right? It'll be weird to
Mm-hmm.
see somebody else portray those characters, but I'm excited to see it regardless. But yeah, Joel and Ellie are The Last of Us to me. So at any time people talk about this game, it's like that's the first thing that pops into my head, is being with those two characters and seeing how they grow and evolve and develop together as, a team.
Totally. Yeah, it's after almost having those characters and those actors play those characters for almost a decade,
Yeah.
then it would be a little jarring to have someone else step in
Yeah.
and fill those shoes, right?
Yeah.
Even someone as like
Oh
seasoned
yeah.
and like veered as Pascal, right?
Yeah. It'll
Um,
just be, it'll be a different take. Like, I don't think it'll be exactly the same, and I don't want it to be, right? I want him
yeah,
to take different
no,
and make
Hmm.
different choices with this character, because we've already seen it through Troy Baker's performance. Like we don't want to see a carbon copy just with Pedro Pascal, right? So it'll be interesting to see how they branch off from that, but also try and retain a lot of it at the same time, right? It's that fine line of being different but not so different that hardcore fans will hate it.
Keeping the tone and the heart of the character while being able to make it your own, right?
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
That's like what any actor has had to do when they're like being the next Joker or the next Spider-Man, right? It's like
there's some core similarities, but there's also some vast differences that separate the two actors from each other, but playing the same character, right? It's what they're paid to do, so I'm not like that nervous about it, but I'm just nervous for myself being like, that's not what I would expect Joel to do or say, but what am I to say what he's supposed to do or say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It does at least give me some comfort knowing that Neil Druckmann has a lot of influence in the series.
Producing, writing, directing. He's there.
It's going to have that footprint from the creators in it, regardless of what the actors do. Although from the one line that I've heard Pedro Pascal say on that Instagram clip or whatever they released, he sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
It does sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll speak to something else we haven't touched on yet. Going back to the game. This is a review about the game, not the show yet. That'll come later. That'll be next year.
Hopefully.
The music is some of the best score in video game score history I have ever listened to.
Yeah, so when I started part 1 again, I was getting goosebumps, and I turned to my girlfriend and said, I've played this game 6 times, and I still get goosebumps as soon as the music starts.
Dude, Dude, because the way the PS5 UI works now, because when you go over and toggle between different, like, PlayStation first-party games, you'll get, like, music with their play card or whatever. You get that guitar, or, violin riff as you... like navigate over every time, man. I beat the game already, and I like every time I start up my PS5 and pass it, I'm like, oh man, it's so good.
Oh, I know. Every now and then I just like to put the soundtrack on and just listen and just I don't know. I don't do that with many.
I was doing that this afternoon, man.
Yeah. I love it too.
Yeah. What Gustavo Santolala?
Yeah, it sounds
I don't know. I'm not even going to try because
what Gustavo did with the score was amazing. Like it tugs at the heartstrings every time, and it's such a distinct sound.
Yeah,
you
hear one note and you know exactly what game it is.
Exactly. That's what makes scores. A game iconic is like all these different pieces coming together that any one taken out of it, you're instantly able to be like, oh yeah, that's from there, right?
Yep.
So good. Cool. Okay. Any other highlights either of you wanted to highlight before we move on?
I guess just touching on the art direction as well, this different take on the zombie genre that I don't think we've really seen. With fungus being the cause rather than like a virus or something like that, and just the way that they put all of the different variations of the infected together and how it progresses over time. Yeah, the life cycle. It is so inspired, and you can tell that there was a lot of care and effort put into designing this world. And it's not just, your average post-apocalyptic wasteland. There's so much depth and detail to everything that they did. And it's so good.
Yeah, so good. Because it came out in 2013 originally. And I think that was kind of around the time when like zombie apocalypse genre was like at its peak, or it was kind of like starting to dwindle, because like that's what
it was on the way out.
Yeah, it was like on the way out. Because that's when Walking Dead was still going on and everything, and all these zombies movies were coming out. Like,
I mean, technically, The Walking Dead is still going on.
Technically, it is.
Unfortunately,
yes. Oh,
and I
God.
don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Although most people would like to forget that it's still going.
Yeah, most people have chosen that. But yeah, I think it totally revitalized that genre, kind of bringing in a new take on the zombie infection type genre.
Yeah.
And also just being able to incorporate like a real world like fungus, and how it actually works is basically like beat for beat the same way it works like in real life, which is cool. It's just that it's transferred to humans instead. I think that really lent a lot of, because it basically like was able to take the skeleton of an already great and iconic genre that's been around for so long, and able to put a new spin on it, right? Which was
and
the
zombies like really aren't the main focus. Like they're a part of the game.
No,
but
totally.
If somebody asked me what The Last of Us was about, I don't think zombies would be, the first paragraph that I told them about the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's the mark of a good zombie thing,
exactly.
movie or TV or game, is that you don't want the zombies to be the main focus. They're the setting of this other story.
Exactly. Yeah. Speaking kind of more specifically to like part one, graphically, I guess we can talk about two is a great, like probably the highlight of part one, I would say.
Absolutely.
Everything just looks so goddamn good. It looks like it was a game made for PS5. Like, had the remaster and original not been a thing, it would be like, wow, this is an amazing original
brand new PS5 game. It looks fantastic. I know people were bitching about some of the character models, but I don't know. Everybody looks lifelike. I haven't seen a single character model that I'm like, that looks way out of place. Where in remastered, you could be like, oh, that looks a little off. That looks a little weird. This one, I haven't come across anything that looks bad.
Yeah, totally. And what it does best is it now kind of ties itself to part two that much more. And now they feel like way more cohesive. Whereas like the remaster didn't look bad at all. But yeah, there was a big jump and they just looked different. But they were able to like mesh those two games together and have a consistent kind of art style and art direction spanning both games, which is great. And then just like the overall look of the game, like there's way more dense foliage, all of the like sunlight looks so good,
water looks awesome too, like
the water looks fantastic. The Tommy or the what is it, the dam section,
Dam Jackson,
like in particular, so looks so freaking good. And the winter, like the whole winter part, the forests look amazing. I felt like I was, it was so good. The DualSense was also a really fun addition, I would say. It did take me a minute to be like, have they actually incorporated anything yet?
It wasn't until I got the bow
Rumble at first.
Once I got the bow, that's when I noticed it most.
Yeah. But like it's got like all the greatest hits of what we've seen with the DualSense so far, of like the rain plinking all over your controller, and the different gun feels. Like the shotgun feels so good. It'll like lock up the triggers and everything. So but it plays and feels great on PS5.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, no loading is awesome too. Like you're in the game, you're in and out so quickly. Like it's really unbelievable how great it looks. And
you used to see that little like cloud,
firefly kind of thing,
for a few. The firefly cloud. As you started up the game, and when you do it on PS5, you click load game, and you see it for maybe a second, and then you're in.
Yeah.
Okay. Cole.
Yes, sir.
I have talked with you about this game, The Last of Us, ad nauseum.
Yep.
I have been on at least 2 other podcasts
talking about this
where we have discussed this basically the entire episode both times. You love this game. It's your favorite game of all time.
Yep.
Do you have any lowlights of the game? Whether it be part 1 specifically or just overall.
If we're just talking about part 1, the only negative is the price. Like $100 for this. If you're not a massive Last of Us fan, I would say wait as long as you can, because if you have remastered for free through PS Plus, I don't see there being $100 difference. So that would be the only real low light I have. I don't know. I love everything from start to finish. I love the story. I love the characters. Naughty Dog might not be like the premier gameplay that you might think of, but I think it's great. It may not feel, like a Call of Duty or something like that smooth, but I don't know. I have a hard time not recommending this game to anyone other than the price. That's really the only low light I see of part 1 right now. I mean, I haven't played through the whole thing, but I know what I'm getting myself into from start to finish. So yeah. So if you can pick,
you wrote the check already.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about not buying it at $100. I was like, I could probably wait. Then you texted me, like, you'll be on the show. I'm like, well, I'm buying it now because I have to. I mean, I would have broke.
So it's my fault.
Yeah, I'm blaming you. I mean, I would have broke probably Friday morning when I woke up. I'd have been like, oh fuck, I gotta buy it because I want to play it again, and I don't want to play remastered again. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it feels way better. It looks way better. So, I mean, if you want the best experience and the best way to play this game, it is part 1 for sure.
Totally. Matt, do you have any? You haven't even played part 1, so you don't get the caveat of the price. So
yeah, well,
do you have any lowlights at all? They don't even have to be bad things. It's just like
it's not. Yeah, the only things that I have is just like personally, I wish that the chapters were more equal in length.
Okay.
Because so much time is spent on the first season. I would have loved to see stuff like happening in the fall, of the leaves falling when you're walking around, and I do love the winter portion the best. That's definitely my favorite part of the game, personally. I think some of the ladder puzzles, could have been left out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, there's nothing there that you're going to be stuck on for that long. It's more of just like, okay, here we go. Here's 3 minutes where I just got to walk slowly with this ladder.
Yeah. Shuffle this dumpster around for a little bit.
Yeah. And so, but then other stuff I believe are things that were probably fixed with the new part 1, which I'm sure you can probably confirm as well. Like, I know they fixed it in part 2 as well. It's just the cover system for Ellie and the other people that were following you around throughout the game, that were clearly in the vision of the people that were looking for you.
It's definitely not fixed.
So now I've got a new low light. Yeah, that's definitely not fixed.
Yeah,
okay.
No,
I have video evidence that will be released on YouTube.
I was playing last night.
Funny because
Ellie ran right in front of 3 guys, and I'm like, okay, we'll see if this works. I know he had, but I mean, it makes sense. Why? Because how shitty would it be if you're like right near the end and Ellie is just like, I'm just gonna stand up and run for no reason. So I get why they didn't technically fix it, but I don't think they thought it was a problem to begin with. So
yeah, it wasn't a big enough problem.
No, it's not that big at all, but it's just, I think it's kind of funny sometimes.
Totally.
But I did see a thing on YouTube a while ago where they were talking about how they reworked the cover system and added a field of vision to all the characters that the other NPCs could sort of sense, and they also had predictive pathing, so Ellie could sense where the other enemies were going to walk to and where they would see, so that she would move out of the way ahead of time. But I guess that's still not a perfect system.
Yeah, I would say if anything, if it was fixed, it's probably just less frequent.
Yeah.
It still happens, but like if there was actually like uh in the patch notes or whatever that like they actually put work in to do it, then it's probably just that it's less frequent and not like altogether gone. Because I definitely encountered it a few times. Like
Yeah.
throughout Bill's town, Bill and Ellie were running
Yeah.
circles around me while I was hiding from clickers and everything. So
Oh yeah, that is also another thing of just how fucking loud Ellie will be when
yeah,
you're around the she'll just cough or something like that.
yeah.
And you're like, okay,
The
well,
that little like while I love it as like a story prompt, uh sometimes this is where the medium of like cinematic storytelling and game kind of butt heads a little bit is uh that little it's not a cinematic but it's like while you're playing this little beat between Joel and Ellie of Ellie trying to learn how to whistle
Yeah.
and she's when I was playing the game, she'll do it right when we're next to clickers. It's just a little immersion breaking sometimes, depending on like how you navigate the map from your save, because it's like time queue based or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
Um, but it's there can be a couple quirks like that sometimes where it's really funny. She'll like finally learn how to whistle, and then we're in the middle of a fight, like really close after that. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Okay, cool. Moving on. Uh, so the next question is kind of what do you think the creator's goal was with making this? And I'll kind of stick it more to part one specifically, the remake. And do you think they achieved that goal? Cole.
Yeah, I mean it's about a father who loses his daughter and gains another one, and does everything he can to protect her. I mean, the story kind of tells itself once you play it. Neil Druckmann did a great job directing and writing this thing. I don't think there's many flaws with the story in regards to The Last of Us Part One. Like, I think they nailed absolutely everything. Like we said, you could have little critiques on some of the gameplay, but story wise, I don't know if there's another game out there that can go toe to toe with this, especially with it being
Mm.
linear, right? Like there's one beginning and there's one ending for everybody. You can make small choices in between, but really this is the game he created and it's the game you got. And I don't know, I think they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Um, yeah, I think everything they did story wise was done 100% perfectly.
Totally. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really that much else to say. It's about fatherhood and what it means to be human in a time when it seems like all humanity is gone. Uh, it's such a simple, tried and true story about these two people bonding, and one character's lost a daughter, and another character who's lost her family, and the way that they sort of bounce off of each other and learn about each other and open up after their initial butting heads. And it's just such a real relationship that you see form between these two people, and it's so believable and so well thought out. And it really, the acting, just it really services the story so well. And I think
Mm.
it's one of those things where you have every single cog in the machine working perfectly with each other, and it's all in this great harmony. And yeah, they came to make something special, and they did.
Yeah. I
Knocked
think
it out of the park,
believable is a
like Cole
great
said.
word for that too, because yeah, I mean the
Mm.
relationship between Joel and Ellie, like we've said before and time again, like it is this game. So
Mhm.
if Joel
If
and
that
Ellie
didn't
didn't
work,
it didn't work, then we would not be talking about this game, and it probably wouldn't have been made really. Like I don't think they
yeah.
would have went
Oh
as far
yeah,
as they did
yeah.
without it. That was the reason this game got made and why it did so well, because that relationship. Without it, it's really not a great game, I don't think.
Yeah, totally. I think kind of going beyond, while it is the focus is totally on Joel and Ellie, I think another goal of theirs, in my opinion, was kind of showing like the spectrum of humanity and what individuals will do in certain situations, specifically in this stressful post-apocalyptic setting, right? And like we encounter all these different characters and how they interact with the world and how they think about the world and how they deal with it. Everything from the like hunters in Pittsburgh who like trap Ellie and Joel in their truck to like the cannibals later in the game, right? It's like uh Sam and Henry like
Fireflies
dealing with the world in their own way, the Fireflies dealing with it in their way. It's like it highlights such a wide range of like how we as humans would deal with situations like this, both good and bad, like really bad. And I think they absolutely nailed the feel of that too. I think those characters are just as believable as Joel and Ellie, which really helps. Like it's one thing to have your leads uh be like as strong as they are, but like you could still have them do that while carrying the rest of the like the work, I guess, right? But like everyone comes out to play.
Yeah.
So that's really what makes it work, I think.
And every season kind of has a character that's memorable, right? Like you have Tess in the beginning, you have Sam and Henry in the summer and fall. You have, you know, I don't even know who else releases in the fall. I guess it's mainly just fall, I guess you get Tommy Butch. You get him in the beginning, and then you get David in the winter. So yeah, I mean every season kind of has their.
Don't forget Bill.
And Bill, again. Bill. Yeah.
And
so
man, Marlene, the dynamic between Bill and Ellie is
so
just
funny.
So listen here, you little shit. Oh, so good. Some of the comedy in the game too is really good. I mean, it's just, really funny. Just the writing and the performances, really. That's what it all comes down to, I think.
They have a really great contrast and balance between the different tones of going from like this relationship drama between the characters to the horror of the environment that they're in, and have these really funny, like heartfelt moments as well that are sprinkled throughout.
Yeah,
and it's such a nice balance because with each emotion that you go between, it helps really like you can appreciate the other ones and you can feel it more because it stands out. When you go from laughing 1 minute to being afraid for the characters' lives the next minute, it's it's such a visceral feeling and it really gets you invested in the game.
Totally. That immediately brings me back to that last cutscene with Henry and Sam.
Oh, like,
that morning, like everyone's waking up. Henry is making breakfast, right? Everyone's all
riding
cheery and making jokes the night before, riding a motorcycle, yeah. And then it just like flips, right? When Sam attacks Ellie, and it's just like absolute shock and awe and horror, and like I was almost brought to tears again. Like I have played this game already and it's like still affecting me this heavily. It's just like, man, it's so effective. That swing is just amazing. Yeah. They were able to pull that off really well. Kind of getting away from The Last of Us, like I want to more like kind of talk more about like the remake that just came out. In that, what do you think the creator's goal was with that, and do you think they achieved it? Matt, any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I guess my knowledge on this is limited as I still haven't played the game, but from my impression, it is because I played the the first game and then part 2 so back to back, and it was very clear the difference in generations between these two. And
Sure.
I think they wanted to make a more cohesive experience, especially for people that are coming into it for the first time, because while The Last of Us Part 1 is a fantastic game and it was cutting edge, pushing the PS3 to its limits of the time, going back and playing that game now, you can definitely feel the years on it.
Right.
And then
Totally.
Part 2, by comparison, when I picked that up, was totally, it felt like it was even more modern than modern. You know,
Yeah.
it was one of the most polished and tech advanced games that I've ever played. And I think they just wanted to make this a cohesive experience to play both games at the same level of polish and technology that we're able to get out of these new systems. And I think, you know, from everything that you guys have said and from everything that I've heard from the internet and everybody that's played it, I think they did their job, and I think they brought a next gen feel to a now 2 generations past game.
Totally. Cool. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think Matt nailed it. Cohesion between the two games has definitely been met. But other than that, I mean, I guess making money would be their other main goal, and I'm sure they're crushing that
Yeah,
too.
they
So
gotta
I mean, I think they nailed it on both fronts.
Totally.
they gotta get more capital for part 3, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I was listening to another podcast talking about this game, and one of their kind of deductions was the reason, because this has been one of the main talking points for this game ever since it's come out and been announced and everything, is why is this game being made?
Hmm.
And I think part of the main thing the guys I was listening to talk about was that Naughty Dog just had like a time slot free available, and they were able to kind of uh, go like take a section of their studio and be like, okay, you guys go. We don't really need you right now for what we're currently working on. You guys go like upscale The Last of Us One for us, so that we can have it look more cohesive with Part Two, like you have said already, Matt. Um, and yeah, and then just it is able to, it's a much stronger entry point for any new people, whether they're getting into it now or whether they want to play it after they watch the TV show next year, right?
Yeah.
Very
It's definitely way more appealing to uh, new players to have this kind of synergy between the two. So, I think they just were able to like afford the time to make it, because like making games takes forever, like I'm sure
Yeah.
we all know.
Yeah.
So they
Well,
they wouldn't
I
do
also
it if
wonder
they
if.
like didn't.
Sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, I wonder if they
Well, I
thought
was
that
just
the
gonna
show
say
was gonna be.
we're having
I'm
some.
letting you go.
No,
You
you
go.
go. No, you go.
You letting me go? Okay.
You go.
um, I yeah.
What if I
Wait.
want to go?
No,
Yep.
God.
You're
Now
third in
it's
line
just
now.
falling apart.
You're third.
Yeah,
You're after me.
you don't get to go, Matt. I'll just kick you from the call.
Okay, yeah, I'll
I've
leave.
already forgotten now what I was gonna say. Cole, do you know
That's
what
my
you're gonna
fault.
say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Well, I
Uh,
wonder if they thought the show was gonna be out around the fall of 2020, and that's why the game was coming out in
Yeah.
fall 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe that was kind of their reasoning for remaking it, was to promote the TV show, but then the TV show got delayed, or maybe the game just got finished way quicker. I don't know. But to me, it would have
Yeah,
made sense to
totally.
have that come out, a month or two before the show came out, and then you're banking
Yeah.
on
mhm.
The Last of Us really drawing people into buying the game so they can play the game before the show, or they watch the show and then they buy the game. But I don't know. We'll see. I
Yep.
mean, they haven't given us a official release date for the show, so maybe that wasn't in
Mm-hmm.
their plans at all, and it really is just a thinking point.
Yeah. I that's a good point. that you bring up is because when they finally announced the date for part 1, I was like, oh, does that mean we're gonna get an announcement soon for the
Yep.
TV show?
I
And
thought we
that's
would
gonna
get
come out
something,
this
right?
fall? Yeah, totally. But I guess not. And whether, like you said, production schedules just didn't line up. Who knows? But I mean, it's going to be around for
Yep.
the TV show, which is great. It's even actually going to drop in price, which is good for
Yep.
the consumer.
That's kind of what I think. Like, get the people who are going to buy it at full price out of the way now, and
Yeah.
then
Right.
go for the net when the show comes out. Which, I mean, I think still could come this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
We still
maybe.
could get it
Never
in
know.
winter or maybe first quarter 2023. I think it's possible because they wrapped filming early summer, I think.
Yeah, in like
Did
June.
The HBO
so,
promo said it was coming next year, so I don't think they're going to move it up. I
okay.
mean, I could be wrong, but
Then
Maybe
probably
early next
I
year. Who
haven't
knows?
seen that promo, so
yeah.
that
And
would
Oh,
be
so
you
why.
yeah, I
gotta watch
think
that promo.
yeah.
I guess I
That-
gotta watch the promo.
the 15 seconds of The Last of Us, and then it immediately cuts to a dragon,
Hey,
which is
I'll
very
take what I
jarring.
can get. It is. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe they're gonna have dragons in the Last of Us show.
Hey,
Who knows?
You never
yeah,
know.
that would be a spicy meatball for sure.
Okay, moving on. So the big talking point, kind of, I think, we've already kind of touched on it. Price. So obviously, Matt, you haven't purchased it or played it yet. We'll start with you. How appealing is the $100 price tag to you currently?
0.
0. Okay.
I haven't bought it yet. I haven't even looked at the price, just like because I just don't have the time to play it right now, so it's not
Right.
something that I want to spend my money on at the moment.
Fair
But
enough.
if I was and I looked at that, I would be like, no,
Okay.
because for me, there's no reason for a game to be $100, let alone a game that most of
Is
it
almost
was
10 years
already
old.
made. Like,
Yeah.
all they had to really change was the graphics and then change some animations and gameplay mechanics that were already present for The Last of Us Part 2. So it
Yeah.
was really just compiling a bunch of different elements that already existed together. So, like, I can't imagine this was a very expensive project to undergo. So the fact that it's going out at a price tag that's above other AAA games that are going off the shelf, like
Mm-hmm.
on day one, I think it's just kind of obscene. And maybe they didn't expect as many people to buy it, so they jacked up the price to cover their ass or something like
Maybe.
that. But like, I don't know, man. That's just so much money. Like, if it was a
It,
bundle of The Last of Us Part 2 and Part 1, I could see that for
right.
sure.
Mhm.
But,
Totally.
this is just too much.
Cole, you have
Yeah,
paid
I
$100
I
for
paid
it.
100, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, like, guys probably don't know since you bought the game later, but I swear remastered when it came out was, I want to say $40, maybe 50. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't full price. And at that point, I think games were $60, maybe 70. So I'm
That
not
sounds right.
I'm not entirely sure why they felt this game needed to be full price. And like I said earlier, like, unless you've never played this game before and you want to play the absolute best version, I wouldn't recommend spending $100 because really remastered, is it a downgrade from part one? Absolutely. Is it $100 less better? No. But yeah, it looks great, but at $100, I'm really surprised Naughty Dog didn't lower the price for this game. I'm sure a lot of work went into it, and I'm sure they had to pay their people and all that. But I don't know. I think you would have got a lot more people to buy this game if it would have been, even $20 off that. If it came out at $70 instead of 90, you would have probably got a lot more
Yeah.
people to buy it, and people would have been doubled down and tripled down. But people who are tripling down, I don't think are spending $100. They'll probably wait for it to go on sale way more than 50%.
Totally. So apparently Last of Us Remastered was $10 cheaper
$10.
in
Okay.
2014. Yeah. Than full price. So
And what
Yeah.
was the full price
ish.
at that time?
$60.
Yeah, so it was 50.
Brand new game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure I paid like $25, I think.
Yeah.
When I bought it, so
is like $90 the standard price for AAA titles now?
Yes, sir.
Oh
$90 for Sony first-party games
Yep.
in 2022,
Bruh.
plus tax.
Yep. Which, I mean, I really don't have a huge problem for it if it's a brand new game like God of War. Ragnarok. I'm buying that $100. Put me down. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Last of Us. Yeah, I couldn't recommend somebody doing that unless they desperately wanted to replay this game or play it for the first time.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, Cole. There actually haven't been in the, what has it been, 2 years of PS5 lifespan?
Yeah, almost.
I don't think I have paid full price for any AAA. Like, I haven't actually bought any AAA Sony first party titles. Like, I didn't play Horizon Forbidden West.
Yep.
I didn't play Ratchet and Clank. I didn't play Returnal.
Last of Us 2.
That was PS4 when it came out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm talking PS5
5 exclusives,
first party games.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, and then Miles Morales was already a cheaper game, so it didn't really matter that much. And then I think Deathloop was the other one I played full price for, but that was a third party game, so it wasn't as steep. So this is actually the first game I've paid the full $90 price tag plus
Same for
tax,
me then, now that
and it was a game that was $10, or 10 years old rather. So yeah, I really can't recommend it to anyone who is like, definitely not to anyone who's like a casual gamer. It's really, that price tag is really gonna turn off a lot of people. Pretty much anyone who isn't like covering the game for like media purposes or whatever, or YouTube purposes.
And chances are a lot of them are getting it for free as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Some of them might be getting like codes and everything too, review codes and whatnot. So it basically boils down to that point of like diehard fans are going to pay full price, and that's about it. I'm like wondering if they were like, fuck it, let's just see if we can get $90 for this thing from people. Let's try and boost our numbers before the end of the year. We got one more quarter to go.
That's probably exactly what they did.
Yeah, which is odd still though, because like they have Ragnarok in November, so who knows. But yeah, it's like, unless you love The Last of Us as much as Cole or myself do, then I can't recommend it at full price anyway.
No.
And I mean, honestly though, at the very first sale, honestly, I think is probably a good starting point of
once
price.
Black Friday rolls around in November. They're gonna make a killing on it, I bet, because it'll probably drop 25%, and people will be buying it everywhere.
Totally. Cool. Okay, moving on. Just as kind of like a summation, little wrap up kind of thing. Each of you have like maybe 2 to 3 pros and or cons for the game. Cole, you want to go first? Just like 2 to 3 things, bullet points.
Like I said earlier, Joel and Ellie is definitely the biggest pro for me. Story, I guess you can lump in that as well. And like we said, side characters are a huge deal in this game too. Like I said, there's so many different characters from all walks of life. Like, I don't know. I don't know how anyone could pick up this game and not come away with something. You know, there's times where you're laughing, there's times where you're crying, there's times where you're cheering people on, times where you can't wait to kill the next guy you see because he's eating somebody, right? Like, there's just so many different things going on in this game. Like, it's fantastic. But yeah, and the good news is you can pick it up as remastered. You can pick it up for PS3 and you can pick it up for PS5 now. So you really don't have any.
It spans generations.
Yeah, you really don't have any excuse anymore for not picking up this game. Like, you can pick it up for free if you want. You can pay $100 for it if you want. Like, it's one of those games. I think you just have to experience it once. I mean, you can even watch it on YouTube if you want. I mean, you did that and you got something out of it, right? So,
yeah, totally.
So yeah,
I'll lump into that too, Cole.
Yep.
The part 1 is also coming to PC.
There you go.
I think that's potentially next year. So one more platform for people to experience it with, which is great.
Yep. No excuses anymore. You can play it pretty much anywhere other than Xbox.
Exactly. And Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
It would run like shit on Nintendo Switch.
720p on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be the PS3 version.
I will say I will probably pick up this game when it does come out on PC. That'll probably be time.
Oh God. It just instantly reminded me that the modding community is going to have a heyday when it comes to PC.
Oh, hell yes. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm waiting for like custom guns and stuff, you know, like give me some flamethrower mods and
give me the ray gun
launchers. Yeah, ray gun from Call of Duty. Grappling hook, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll do it all.
Make all of the zombies Thomas the Tank Engine. You know?
Yes, Teletubbies. Turn a bloater Shrek, maybe.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. No, Joel will be Shrek.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Joel will be Shrek and Ellie
will be Donkey,
and then replace all the dialogue with quotes from the movie.
I hate it so much.
I'd play the shit out of that game. Are you kidding me?
That's worth $90 right there.
Yeah, it's worth more.
Yeah. Matt, what are like 2 to 3 pros or cons?
I mean, I've got one pro, and that's all of them.
Nice.
I think this is one of those games where it's like you have every single element of video games firing on all cylinders. With you've got great gun mechanics, you've got great stealth, there's great music, characters. It's just everything that you could praise in a game you can praise here. So there's something for everybody, unless you don't like violence or you don't like being scared, in which case go play Bugsnax or something. But
oh God,
if you don't like being scared, maybe Bugsnax isn't the right suggestion.
No, it's very scary.
That's nothing but pure terror.
That's true. It is nightmare fuel, but in a different way.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean that's what I got to say. It's just it's great.
Totally. Kind of segueing from that, there's something for everyone. Another thing that part 1 introduced was, I think, pretty much the same level of accessibility options that part 2 had, which is great because, I mean, more options is better for everybody, honestly.
Everyone can play it.
I don't know if this falls under the accessibility tree, but like I had a browse through the like bonus game modes and whatnot in the menus after I finished it, and there's a lot of like unlockable like new game plus options. There's like infinite ammo, there's like one-shot kill mode. There's like what was another
they do
one?
like,
I think like infinite resources or something. Right? Yeah, totally. And then there's also there's different like graphical modes too. There's like an 8-bit mode, so you could play. It was actually kind of interesting,
and like the watercolors and it was all that stuff that was left over from The Last of Us Part 2 that they just carried over.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, that's really cool.
I saw something they were talking about in the accessibility features that this was the first game to include descriptive
audio.
Descriptive audio for the gameplay,
right?
As well.
Yeah, that's in there too, which is really cool. It's not something I would need, or I don't think I'd really.
It's there for the people that do.
But it is there for the people that need it, which is great. So yeah, I will add to the list of pros the music. Once again, the score is amazing. You can listen to it on its own and it's got a weight of its own. The unique art direction with the cordyceps virus and everything. The world design is fantastic. You're getting a variety of environments and landscapes as you're going through across the United States. You get all 4 seasons, which is also good too, adding to the variety. There's like collectibles in the game. There's lots of like little lore pieces and notes hidden around everywhere.
And for part one, especially, I think a pro that I just thought of is the trophy list. You don't have to do multiplayer anymore, so it's a way easier platinum. So I haven't platinum Last of Us yet, so I'm going to be doing that in the next several days.
There you go. It's an easier platinum.
Yeah,
that's appealing to me as well.
Yep.
Cool. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and then I'll add a con to the list. Although I think it's more of a subjective. I know, blasphemy. It's kind of more of a subjective con though. Is like playtime. My playtime for part 1 specifically, for the remake specifically, was actually shorter. I think. It's like an average of like 12 to 13 hours for part 1. Whereas apparently the remaster, according to How Long to Beat, is like another hour or 2. I don't know if that like pertains to like redesigned levels or just like
is it maybe familiarity
smoothing out of the levels. It might just be familiarity, which would make sense for sure.
Yeah.
But just going broader scope for playtime, the game is only about like 15 hours total, maybe like 20 hours for completionists. So if that's something that really matters to you personally, and I think I could probably speak for all of us here when I say like you're getting bang for your buck in those 15 to 20 hours.
Yeah.
Playtime
shouldn't really matter.
Case A and B of me and Cole paying $100 for it.
Yeah.
For only playing about 15 hours. Like, it's a damn good 15 hours.
Yeah, I'd rather the best 15 hours than a 50-hour game that only has 2 or 3 good hours. Like, hour count really doesn't matter to me. Give me the best experience. It could be 2 hours long, it could be 15, it could be 50. As long as it's the best you can give me, then I have no problem.
Where I will say, I think hour count could matter more and factor into is price point, which is more fair, I would say, rather than hour count for the type of content you're getting, right?
Yep.
So that could be something to say.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for dollar per hour, especially in video games, for sure.
Totally. It's also very hard to always like kind of keep in the back of your head of like, it is $90, but like the amount of work and systems at play that go into making a video game, it's very hard to appreciate a lot of the time. But like, it's insane when you actually like start digging into how these things are made. It's like, okay,
$100 is probably still,
I can kind of appreciate it.
I think if you look at it, so they were $60 for like what, 4, 5, 6, 7 years before they bumped up to 70. So I mean, really, $100 isn't that bad as long as it's a good game, right? Like it sucks when you spend $100 and you hate the game, then it's like I just wasted $100. But nowadays, you don't really have any excuse because you can look up reviews online, you could watch gameplay, you could watch people play the game.
There's sales all the time now too.
Exactly.
So like, okay, one more thing before we kind of get to the outro. We've kind of touched on it already, but just to kind of reiterate, who would you recommend this to, or what type of person would you recommend this to, Matt?
If you like survival games, if you're into zombies, if you're into really well-written single-player narrative games, then quit sleeping on this. Mm-hmm. If you're if you're a person that's into Tetris, or if you just like the arcade competitive style of something like Call of Duty, and you want to be better than other people and that kind of stuff, then yeah, maybe this isn't for you. But if you're into story and you're into immersion, then play The Last of Us. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Totally. Cool.
Yeah, I think pretty much exactly what Matt just said. I don't even know if you need to be into zombies. Like my girlfriend was like, I don't want to watch because I'm not into zombies, and I told her, I'm like, sure, zombies are present in this game, but they are really just the backdrop of Joel and Ellie's story. Like they're there and they're a danger to everybody, but really it's a story about Joel and Ellie and how they survive and what they're going to do for each other and what they'll sacrifice for each other. So I really don't know if there's anyone I wouldn't recommend this game to. I mean, if you're exclusively only multiplayer and that's the only thing you want to do, then maybe it won't be for you. But I think if you give it a chance, like you said, it's only 10 to 15 hours depending on how much you want to put into this game. Like price point would be the only thing that would be negating anything for not buying this game. So yeah, I think you should just give it a chance at this point. I mean, it's almost 10 years, so if you haven't tried it, like I don't really know what you're waiting for. You probably don't want to play this game at this point anyway, so what I say isn't going to matter, but if it is, go for it, cuz yeah, it's really one of the best narrative games you're going to find. It's going to rival pretty much any movie, and it's probably better than a lot of the movies that you're going to see. So
yeah, if you're into movies, this is right up your alley.
Yep.
It is better than a lot of the big tentpole blockbusters.
Yep.
That have been released in the last 10 years. I'll go ahead and say
better than the Emoji Movie. Are you kidding me?
It's not better than She-Hulk streaming on Disney Plus.
Yeah, are Joel and Ellie going to twerk? I don't think so.
Well, with the PC modded version,
yeah.
Oh, true. Oh, God.
Yeah.
We're gonna blame you when that happens, Matt. It's your fault.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
Okay, I'm taking responsibility now.
Yeah, like if you are at all the least bit interested in compelling narratives, then The Last of Us is something you need to put on your list. If you have the means to, if you have a friend who has a PlayStation console or a PC for the future,
steal it.
The means, steal it. Exactly. Get their Netflix password type shit and just steal
everything.
Just like break into their house one night and take their PlayStation. That's
and everything else in their house, not just their PlayStation.
Better yet.
PlayStation, play The Last of Us first, and then steal all of their stuff.
Find your
mom's have priorities.
Card. Find
your mom's credit card. There we go. That's a healthy thing for us to endorse.
And then the expiration date, the 3 digits on the back.
Yeah. Go ahead and post that in the comments below if you would be so kind, actually.
Email it over to us here.
Yeah.
And we'll verify if that's the right card that you should be using.
But yeah, I would, part 1, like if you were hesitant about playing the first Last of Us because of the remaster or whatever, part 1 is the definitive edition. It's like from the ground up, looks as good as part 2. Plays just as good as part 2. If you want to wait till it goes on sale, I absolutely don't blame you. It only is going to increase in value as it decreases in price. So
it's not going to get any higher right now. It's $90 and it's only going to go down from here. So
exactly
until they release the PlayStation 6 and they remaster it again.
Remake it again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's new Skyrim.
Part 1 remastered.
New Skyrim, yes. Last of Us Special Edition, Anniversary Edition. Guess what? We added fishing.
There you go.
Oh boy.
All right, cool. Well, we have reached the end of the episode. Thank you, Cole and Matt, for joining me on this episode of the No Score Review Show.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Cole, do you have any plugs or anything? If you don't have any plugs, do you have a film, game, or TV show recommendation for the audience?
I'm going to do a plug and a show recommendation. Show recommendation, Better Call Saul. I don't think I need to say anything else. If you've seen Breaking Bad, watch Better Call Saul because it's gonna blow your dick off. It's so good. Yeah, and then a plug. I'm in a band called the Hockey Moms. If you want to check us out on Spotify or anywhere you listen to music, go for it. Nice. This is my usual plug on podcasts. So yeah, we're back out playing shows now. Cool. So actually, after this, I'll probably get playing because I got to learn a whole bunch of new songs since we have a cover set coming up in October for Halloween. So yeah, check us out if you like punk rock.
Nice.
All right, Matt, do you have any plugs and or recommendations?
I'll also share one of each. Why not?
Hell yeah.
So my recommendation, because I just watched it a couple nights ago, Inherent Vice by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay. Haven't seen
I watched it when it first came out. Really didn't like it because I was confused as fuck and didn't know what was going on. But I rewatched it recently with a fresh, adult mind. Mm-hmm. And wow, it is something else. It's genre defying. There's so many different plot lines. It's like a neo-noir set in the 70s. It's like I saw it compared to what was it? Something. It's like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas meets a detective noir story. Wow. It's got Joaquin Phoenix, Josh Brolin, Owen Wilson, Reese Witherspoon. It's got the biggest cast of characters that you can imagine.
Probably
it's
lots
hilarious.
Of
lots of drugs. And yeah, I'd say check it out if you haven't seen it already.
Underrated. What did you watch it on?
It fell off the back of a truck, maybe.
Oh, I see.
It's not streaming anywhere at the moment, so you'll have to rent.
Streaming anywhere. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Cops will be at your place very shortly.
Hey, it's not my that swatted. Truck had the back door open. Was driving by my house, and Blu-ray happened to fall out, and I picked
Raccoon
it up.
Raccoon was carrying it while you were taking the trash out, and he left it behind. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
It happens.
If one of these boutique labels like Arrow or Criterion want to release this film, I will happily buy it in whatever Blu-ray 4K package they want to sell it in. But as of right now,
until then, you're getting it from raccoons and back alleys.
Yeah, it's raccoon and stuff. So there's that. And I also
your plug.
I didn't want to give it to the $5 to Bezos by renting it off of Amazon. So
fair enough.
Greater good. And my
You're
plug,
doing your part.
Yeah, right. I'd say my plug. If you use Letterboxd, follow me on Letterboxd at box.com/wisdom nugget. And
wisdom nugget. Very nice.
See it.
It's a great
handle. You're there.
Cool. Well, awesome. Yeah, thank you both again for joining me. If you watching this want more No Score Review Show, I have one more episode out that I've done. It was covering the indie game Stray, where you play as a cat in a dystopian future.
Oh, my cat was just down here. I don't think she's down here anymore.
Oh, man.
That's my fault.
He has strayed away.
Yeah, sorry.
There it is.
Should have been on that.
But yeah, I got another episode of the review show covering that game. And then if you're into video game Let's Play content, I have a few videos. I played Stray on my No Score channel. The full series is up on there if you want to check that out. But I have migrated all my Let's Play account or Let's Play videos to my gaming account, No Score Plays on YouTube. So if you're into that, then that's where you'll find that. I started my road to Ragnarok and playing all the God of War games before God of War Ragnarok comes out. And I'm releasing the Last of Us Part 1 as we speak. It's going up pretty much throughout the month of September. So yeah, that'll be on there, as well as a bunch of other indie games and stuff coming out. In terms of the review show, my next thing might be Avatar, because that's getting a re-release into theaters. So I might go see that in IMAX.
Ooh, hell yeah.
So stay tuned for that potentially on the channel in the future. But yeah, until then, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, Cole, Matt, thank you once more for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.